You actually use your shoulders more than you think when it comes to creating power in punches. But people say that hips drives everything. That's both right. Your arm starts all the way back here. I don't know if you actually see, literally, that movement. That's me moving my arm. My arm actually starts way back here, back in there. So that's in general, relaxed. Bring your arm up. Let's do a regular weight distribution 50-50. That's hyperextended right there. That's full everything. So from here, hyper full extended. But you don't want to use only just that. So you either have the option of from where you're at, pretty much here, instead of doing this, which this will pull, it will want to pull, you'll feel this pull. And the fact that I'm pulling this much of me to push into this, and not at 50-50, I'm not at 50-50 this way. All my weight, there's nothing supporting the front besides what I'm leaning on. So I need, okay, arm here, arm there, person, right there. Right down the middle of my face, so right here, arms on this side, arms on that side, just like this, same exact way. So instead of being exactly the same way as somebody else squared, I need to be somewhat sideways, where mine is either a little bit more towards one side, to where I can slip or step, slip either way. I want more on the back foot, close to 50-50, but in case for whatever reason I need to move, unless of course I'm really good at pushing, transferring from the back to the front of when I hit it. So push, pull up, boom. Type deal, unless of course it's like that, where I would need also this, it ain't just simply my foot, whatever reason, because here, boom, that's as much as I need right there, as much as I need, boom. Step, throw from hip, extend, pull back the shoulder, back in place. Okay, so here, boom, right here, push, same thing. I can push, step, no different, slap, whoop, no different. Whoop, whoop. That right back into it. I can either do more push from back here, or I can simply make sure that I'm not just dropping down, but I'm going with all that right there. I'm turning, taking that hip, I'm turning down back at this position right here. So like I said, somewhere either more towards one side or almost in the middle, to where slide a little bit off to there. It's more better usually towards one side where you can easily lean back, you can slip, you can do whatever, you can roll pretty much to where you're not on the same exact side or too close to the power side and this side. So with that right there, pretty much 50-50, balls and feet pretty much. If I want to fully in another version where I am more like this, full extended reach, whatever, that same thing here, pretty much, whatever reason, and as you can see, you can turn the foot somewhat, but look, too much that way, not this way. So what we need to do is come forward, drop. So outward, inward, and go from this to that. So boom, this coming full forward, and done best. Make sure this just releases at the end. So pretty much, so drop. So here, going out, it's coming forward. You're pulling, you're dropping, you're loosening back up. Okay? So regular center stop. Boom. Boom, right back into it. Reversing that punch. But the further away this is, in more position, that's like pretty much like that. This is also why the Maki War Board teaches stuff like that. You have to shorten it up, it was closer. As long as it's still either way. And if you have trouble with that, you want to still do it. Instead of full rotation, just drop right here. Instead of this way, you're dropping. Boom. Even this side that way, I'm still going motion down instead of just side to side. Too rapid while this is moving, possibly rubbing off line. Either outward, downward, or if you got enough distance. But pretty much, I'm mostly going for a body one instead of a less likely, more weight target. Structure this way, naturally, where the wrist won't be in right here. But let's just say, for whatever reason, I got more full extent that time. Less mass. There's nothing behind the head. Head's on a tilting thing. So from here to there, boom. But from this position, it's already hand up there. So I brought the shoulder closer, unlike a more true, correct, traditional one. That'd be more like once it came forward, boom, from here to there, because I'm not brought this closer. And put this where it come over their way. This is straight, either way. I want to do the top one here. Boom. Once again, whatever reason, okay? So I'm naturally going to keep it somewhat here from doing stuff recently. But from here, boom, it allows that because you haven't brought this closer, okay? Where you would need for this to fully get into it. Shoulder to shoulder connection. You want to try to realize. Same thing. This way. Almost like I'm trying to throw discus, but instead of going around, I'm going straight with it. So yeah, but closer you are for lower stuff, this way is fine. Higher up, either this way or that way. You never want to hit your finger, so sometimes it has to be that way. Alright? If I was to, let's see, it's fully that instead of this one. Boom. Higher up I went. I don't want to compromise this also. So if I was to full straight up, I stop the mass of it. Whatever way. Structure. 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 And I don't get that good snap release to it. And if I don't get that good to it. Pretty much. It's still something where I'm showing I have good structure. Because let's say instead of getting all that, that's still going to do something, especially the minor individual spots. But if you don't like that, if you're still not properly using your body, one that actually has somewhat more better effect and probably is the most structurally sound on your feet and palm. support my wrist, or that. Either way you want to go with it. Either way you want to go with it. All that. And obviously, this is not the full mass of this Matt was swinging at me. This right here, slice little touch, of course, is going to make it bend. The majority of the weight's at the bottom. I'm not saying just staring at somebody running to you, but majority of most people won't throw a proper punch anyway to begin with. They'll probably miss. They'll probably miss a hand palm, or they won't keep their hands up because they're trying to extend their hands to whatever position. Practicing with elbow frame to start with, and keeping this good, and this probably be the most easy. That still keeps you in some sort of thing where you learn to drop, okay, or bend hips out with it. You're dropping or bending, and you're still keeping that same exact structure, pretty much, in a way that's I don't want to bend too much this way or it's odd, even though you still obviously can go forward with this. Because your spine's still connected to right there. It's still in line this way. You know, it may not be in line fully to where it's boom, both to here. Your spine's still connected to something. To where you're on such an odd thing, you can't move forward. Just because this isn't facing this way. You can punch this way. You can frame that way. Boom, boom, you can do that way. You know, this helps put it back more for both of them. Now, they're both in line, so like this, but instead of putting too much on the front leg, where you still have good balance on that back leg right there, pretty much. But either way, either going a little outward up with it, or sinking, okay? It's not fully on the opposite side, because we're not trying to whip something. We're not up and close and trying to whip something. It's not a full whipping motion. We're not just releasing, we're driving. Okay, and that's easier. You can still do it the other way. Technically, you just got to make sure this isn't at the end of this and pulling too much to where you're the opposite way. And this is still in control, connected. Over, down. And you still add that into it. Sometimes I still do it wrong. And then I want to talk about the shoulders. When you're standing up close and you already got somebody, you can throw hard bombs either way. You will see me move this way, but I'm not putting no power. I'm not whipping that. I just chose. Now, if I want to do certain ones like that or a hook style, it's easier to whip that way. But coming from while you're moving, plan it correctly, or whatever. If you can get the motion or get the whereas your shoulders not being activated as much, obviously they're going to be connected to your hip when moving. Hip will keep it stable. If I'm trying to move forward and swing my shoulders, I'm using a higher thing on balance, way more higher, you know, that if I bend forward, gravity's going to pull in this force. I bring this in line. It looks weird, but they're in line using my hips while I'm moving. Next to my leg, less than my shoulders. Of course, I'm already planted. I'm planning. I have the ability to use my shoulders for whatever. I have the ability to plant. Instead of moving, I done stunned them. Wherever I see an opening, right here, step, plant, boom, shoulders. See, this right here is offline then, but I'm not using that. I'm trying to swing that shoulder from this side around. I'm not using my hips that way. Boom. I would have to do in a way to where I drop at an angle. Kind of like the Jack Dempsey fall. pretty much, to make that have more effect. But if I'm standing upright every time, boom, boom, I'm standing upright every time, pretty much. Boom, boom. Now that shoulder to this shoulder going out. While I'm in plant position, I'm planted. Okay? Step plant. Plant now. Don't just let this fall. Plant on that ground. And propel that body forward. Plant. Step. Plant. Push. Push. Across from that shoulder. It's going to go by the hip. I'm not fully engaging everything to this shoulder. Boom. That's how it's going to go. Plant. Right here. Push forward. Pushing. Pushing. Releasing. Forward. Boom. Into it. Every bit of that. Every bit of that. So if you prefer using your hips more, that's fine too. That's easier for a reverse punch. We're not doing that. We're doing a cross. This whole side, all connected. Step. We're not doing reverse punch. This opposite side, boom. We're not doing it. We're doing a cross. It's going to come from here, cross. That's personally where I find differences, in my opinion. So yeah. Too much of this, not open enough stance to where either weight shift and do whatever, problem. Okay? Especially if you're trying to throw it instead of drop it, pretty much. Then yeah. And the other one, if you're trying to step plant, then pull, all this is going out that way. It's not direct, because you're not with it. So that's the differences. You can use your shoulders more for straight punches when you're right up at it, or some whatever close-up style you want. Probably more when you realize when you're planted, it's going to connect more to your shoulder, less your hip. Hips allow you more better advantage when you're actually moving. Okay? That's why it's important to train core strength, which I don't do good enough, and work on having a loose lower back and not a tight one, so your hips can do that.